Have you ever noticed how your mind can turn a perfectly ordinary situation and turn it into a disaster movie? You send an email, someone doesn't reply, a client asks for a meeting, your boss says, "Can we talk?" Your partner seems a little quieter than usual, and suddenly your mind starts filling in the blanks. What if they're unhappy? What if I've done something wrong? What if this goes badly? What if everything falls apart? Here's what's fascinating. In most cases, nothing has actually happened yet. The stress isn't coming from reality, it's coming from the future your brain is predicting. And that's exactly what we're talking about today. Because one of the most important discoveries in modern neuroscience is that your brain is not primarily a reacting machine, it's a prediction machine. And if those predictions are consistently negative, they can create anxiety, overthinking, self doubt, and mental chatter, even when no actual threat exists. Today, I'm going to show you why your brain predicts the future, why those predictions often become negative, why overthinking feels so convincing, a simple exercise you can use immediately, and how to begin breaking the cycle. By the end of this video, you'll never look at your negative thoughts the same way. Most people think the brain works like a camera. Something happens, the brain observes it, then reacts. But neuroscience suggests something very different. The brain is constantly trying to answer one question. What is about to happen next? Every second of every day, your brain is making predictions. Predictions about what people mean, what situations will become, whether you're safe, whether you'll succeed, whether you'll be accepted, whether you're about to experience pain. Why? Because prediction is efficient. Your brain evolved to keep you alive, and the fastest way to survive is not to wait for danger, but to anticipate danger. Imagine two ancestors. One hears rustling in the bushes and assumes it's nothing. The other hears rustling and assumes it's a predator. Which one do you think survives more often? Obviously, the cautious one. As a result, our brains evolve with a negativity bias. They are naturally more sensitive to possible threats than possible opportunities. So this was useful when predators were real, but today, most threats aren't lies. They're emails, deadlines, conversations, uncertainty, rejection, judgment. The problem is your brain still uses the same ancient operating system. So when uncertainty appears, it starts forecasting possible danger. And that's where mental chatter begins. Now, here's where things get even more interesting. Most people don't experience these thoughts as predictions. They experience them as reality. Think about this. You have a presentation next week. Your brain generates a prediction. I'm going to mess this up. Objectively, that's just one possible outcome. But most people don't experience it as a possibility. They experience it as a fact. The same thing happens when a client sends a difficult email. Your brain immediately predicts they're unhappy. Again, that's not a fact. It's a forecast, a story, a future your brain is imagining. But because it arrives automatically and feels convincing, we rarely question it. Instead, we accept it as truth. And this is where problems begin. A prediction that is repeated often enough can become an assumption. An assumption repeated often enough can become a belief. And once something becomes a belief, your body starts responding as though it is real. Your heart rate increases, your muscles tighten, your breathing becomes shallow, stress hormones rise, you become emotionally prepared for a threat that may not even exist. In other words, your body isn't responding to reality. It's responding to a future you predicted, your brain has predicted. Then something else happens. Your brain starts looking for evidence to prove the prediction is correct. Psychologists call this confirmation bias. If your brain predicts rejection, it starts scanning for signs of rejection. If it predicts failure, it starts collecting evidence of failure. If it predicts criticism, it becomes hyper alert to criticism. Soon the prediction begins creating the very experience it was trying to avoid. This is why overthinking feels so convincing. You're not simply thinking about a future problem, you're mentally rehearsing it, emotionally rehearsing it, physiologically rehearsing it again and again and again. And every rehearsal teaches the brain, this future must be important, let's keep preparing for it. The result? The prediction feels increasingly real even when little or no evidence exists that it will actually happen. So remember, your brain isn't trying to predict the most likely future, it's trying to predict the safest future and protect you from a possible future. And from a survival perspective, the safest prediction is often the most cautious, most negative, and most fear-based one. And this is why your brain, which is wired to detect threats, often overestimates what could go wrong. So how do we begin interrupting this? Well, one of my favorite exercises is called a prediction audit. Most people challenge their thoughts. Very few people challenge their predictions. So here's how it works. So I want you to grab a notebook or a piece of paper. I want you to draw 4 columns. Column 1 has a heading, the situation. So this is what's actually happening. So keep it factual. An example could be, my boss asked to speak with me tomorrow. In column 2, write the heading, the prediction. What future is your brain creating? So what is your brain predicting will occur in the future? Maybe I'm in trouble. I'm getting fired. They're unhappy. In column 3, I want you to write the heading, the evidence. What objective evidence actually supports that prediction? So be honest. Usually the evidence is surprisingly thin. In column 4, I want you to head it up, alternative possibilities. So what else could be true? Perhaps your boss wants an update, they need information, they want my input, they want to discuss a new opportunity. Now here's the most important question. Ask yourself, what percentage certain am I that my prediction is correct? Most people discover they're nowhere near 100%. Maybe they're at 20%, maybe 30%. At a stretch, maybe 40%. Yet they've been reacting as though it's guaranteed, that it's 100% certain. This simple exercise helps create psychological distance. You stop treating predictions as facts. You start seeing them as possibilities, and that changes everything. So let's do another quick example. So let's imagine a situation, you've contacted a friend via SMS, WhatsApp, etc., and they haven't responded to you. Your prediction? They're upset with me. The evidence? There is no evidence. Alternative possibilities. They're busy, they're driving, they're tired, they forgot. They're dealing with something themselves. Notice how quickly certainty begins to soften. And when certainty softens, anxiety often softens too. Now, I want to be clear. This isn't about positive thinking. It's not about pretending everything will work out perfectly. It's not about replacing every negative thought with a happy thought. It's about becoming more accurate. Because the goal isn't optimism. The goal is reality. And reality is usually much more balanced than the fearful future your brain is predicting. When you learn to question your predictions, you create space. Space between the thought and the reaction, space between the prediction and the emotion, space between the fear and the behavior. And in that space, you gain choice. You gain the choice to be able to respond rather than to react to whatever you're experiencing. If this resonates with you, then you'll love the live masterclass I'm teaching next week. It's called Silence Your Mind Chatter. How to break the hidden stress loops fueling negative thoughts, anxiety, and overthinking. In this masterclass, we'll be going much deeper than we have today. You'll discover why negative thoughts keep repeating, the neuroscience of mental chatter, why positive thinking often fails, the hidden stress loops driving overthinking, how to interrupt negative thinking in real time, and practical tools you can begin using immediately. Most importantly, you'll learn how to stop believing in every prediction your brain creates and start developing a calmer, clearer, and more empowered relationship with your mind. If you'd like to join me, you'll find a registration link in the description below. And before you go, I'd love to hear from you. What prediction does your brain make most often? I'd like you to let me know the answer to this question in the comments below. And if you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone whose mind could use a little bit more peace and a little less chatter. I'll see you in the next video, and hopefully I'll see you in the masterclass.